All right, let's go. Panthers, Cowboys. Let's do it. Oh, what's going on, future Phil? Hey, past Phil. Oh man, I am so excited for this game. Panthers playing the best ball the last 3 games. Sure, they lost, but they put the Buccaneers to the test. They put the Eagles to the test. They put the Chiefs to the test. And now they're taking on the Cowboys, who just lost in embarrassing fashion to the Bengals. Monday Night Football, short week. They got Cooper Rush. He's no Dak Prescott. Heck, he's not even Andy Dalton. Hey, even Vegas making us the favorites for the first time in 33 games. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. 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 Glad. It's good that you feel good. Feeling good is good. Yeah, we get embarrassed, don't we? Going on to watch a Panthers post. Thanks for joining us. I did mention it in the last episode. The fact that the Panthers were suddenly favored for the first time in 33 games, 32 games. The likes of Kay Adams tweeting out things like, guys, the Panthers are kind of fun. Like, they're now in the public zeitgeist. You had Chuba Hubbard taking the O lineman to Louis Vuitton. I didn't even know there was a Louis Vuitton in Charlotte, but took them all out. You had, Robert Hunt decked out in the Louis V tie, the Louis V toque, and everyone's looking all nice and pretty, feeling good about themselves. They're asking us to vote guys into the Pro Bowl. They moved the number 2 Fox team under Tom Brady, and they had friggin' Greg Olson, Panther great. They switched him into this game. It's been 3 weeks of Panthers getting these moral victories against legitimate contenders. Like I said, national media members finally, praising Bryce Young, as they should have, because he was playing very, very, very good ball. Like, statistically speaking, like top 10 quarterback type of ball the last couple of weeks. You had that. So you had the analysts, the pundits, praising Dave Canales, all these think pieces, including from yours truly, trying to wonder what happened in those 3 weeks that Bryce Young was benched for Andy Dalton. Like, something clicked. He's figured out the game. Chuba Hubbard is a true RB1. Adam Thielen's back, sure-handed, but like, the Panthers started to become favorable again. They were no longer the worst franchise in sports. It was the Jets, it was the Giants, it was the Jaguars, it was the Browns. Like, those were suddenly, even the Cowboys in some way, those were the stupid franchises. Those were the dumb ones. The Panthers, since that Luke Combs concert, were suddenly in the good graces of everybody right now. And the football cognoscenti and the football zeitgeist, we were suddenly favorable. Not only that, Tyler, the Creator, and his Golf Wang company doing a collaboration with the Panthers. That never happens to this franchise. This franchise, since David Tepper bought them, to be honest, they don't do cool collabs with anybody. They don't get even brands that don't have cool artists tied to them, but brands like Homage, they do the throwback logos for the Eagles, for the Browns, for the Cowboys, who don't even have a throwback. Oh, they have a throwback logo, but not really. The Patriots, everybody else, they never touch the Panthers' old school logo. But suddenly, out of nowhere, in the week that the Panthers are suddenly a favorite into Sunday, they're using retro logos left, right, and center for this collaboration with Tyler, the Creator. Just wild stuff. It's just like, it felt like the Panthers are finally, like, we have the potential to be cool. We have the coolest colors, the coolest swag. 90s fashion is in right now, and nothing is more 90s than a team that entered the league in the mid 90s. And it just made sense that everything was just kind of going the Panthers' way. And as I said in the last episode, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. One thing really bothered me with the post game, and I'll talk about the game itself. And again, these Sunday night recaps are just kind of like a verbal diarrhea kind of therapy. Robert Hunt said that after this loss, they'll be more humble. Man, you guys went into this game with 3 wins, 1 win more than last year, and you still lost 3 straight. Yeah, you had moral victories, but those weren't victories at all. Like, you should always come in with a chip on your shoulder, and you should always think that everyone thinks you're garbage. That shows you that this is still a very young team. Very young team with a new head coach who's never been a head coach in the NFL, an NFL team that has young guys at the captaincy position. Bryce Young, 23 years old. Like, he had the fiery speech, I think, after the Chiefs game, fired everybody up, and but he's still a young guy. There's people in that building who have never led in a winning organization. Like, I mean, I'm talking like to Super Bowls. The only one who's been to a Super Bowl in the building, I believe, is Shaq Thompson. And he was, and I got no disrespect, Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly were on the team. So, like, they were kind of taking those leadership reps. He was kind of watching. But it just shows that this team is still very young. And in terms of in the locker room, in terms of guiding them in the right way, like in no way. And Robert Hunt also said this thing, how that long first drive when the Panthers ended up in the red zone, Bryce Young juked out Micah Parsons, then had it stripped, then fumbled the ball. Sure. And I said this in the preview episode. I said in the preview episode before the last game that I think Bryce Young is going to turn the ball over at some point. And he did last week. And I thought he was going to shake it off because nothing is more embarrassing. Nothing is worse than being benched as the first overall pick 2 years into only your second season in the NFL for a 36-year-old quarterback. I thought he'd walk it off. This week, for some reason, that fumble in the red zone, situationally, obviously, it's a killer. But the Panthers also turned the ball over as well. Like Cooper Rush fumbled it at a bad time. They had the beautiful pass to Jalen Coker for the longest play in the Panthers season thus far. But for some reason, Robert Hunt had to tell us that after that first drive fumble, they could never get the momentum back, and they just played catch up from there on, and it was just never the same. And like, to me, that's a sign of a young team, an inexperienced team, and that's okay. That's okay that you're a young and inexperienced team, because next year you got another year under your belt. The year after that, you got another year under your belt. And as I said in previous episodes, you got to give this team, this front office, 2 full off seasons to figure themselves out to really be competitive. And I mean, I'm watching Sunday Night Football right now, and it's the Green Bay Packers up against Seattle Seahawks. Green Bay Packers winning right now by 10, and they have a quarterback that was sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for multiple years. Like, it takes time. And yeah, just the stuff that Robert Hart was saying after the game, it just made me realize, yeah, this is a young team, an inexperienced team that has really and truly not, they're getting the battle scars now. Like, I mean, you can tell me, you don't have to tell me that Bryce Young has had his battle scars from last year, parts of this year as well. In his third, fourth year, you would hope that he get into stride, that he becomes, more aware of the situation. Hopefully guys like Robert Hunt, who are now brought into a team where he is like the go-to guy as a leader. Like, he is the voice of this locker room right now. And he's going to learn to be a leader in bigger spots like this. And he's doing a good job. I will say, in his first year, he will be a Pro Bowler. I voted for him. But it's stuff like that. Like, you have to have the mental fortitude. And when you fumble the ball in that awesome drive, and it was a great drive, it was an encouraging drive. Felt like, we're going to have kind of a repeat of the last 3 weeks. And then, it eventually will end up in the Panthers' way. They're going to win this game against Dallas. But yes, that fumble, it seemed like momentum-wise, vibe-wise, it just took the air out of the team, and they just didn't know what to do. And I'm not just talking about the players. I'm talking about Dave Canales as well. They rushed Chuba Hubbard 10 times. Chuba Hubbard, 10 times. He just came back from Louis Vuitton. He's not wearing Louis Vuitton cleats. You can get him dirty. You can get him a little dirty, guys. He's not wearing an LV jersey. Like, he's not wearing a different jersey than everybody else. You can get him out there and get him roughed up a little bit. That's what he's there for. But it seemed like he panicked. Like, they were down 14. Down 10. You were down 10. And then with Jalen Coker touchdown, you were down 3. And then, yeah. It was just, yeah, I think the number one killer wasn't the first drive. It was the first drive of the second half. That was a killer. When that happened, and that was brutal. To me, that was, like, Bryce had his most amount of turnovers. He had 2 picks. I think he had 3 lost fumbles. 3 lost fumbles in the game, like 5 turnovers. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. That was the killer, because I thought the Panthers had momentum into half, coming out to get the ball back, and then they just marched down the field like they did in that first drive and just leave no mistake. So, maybe they would have had more Chuba Hubbard runs in the back pocket in that first drive of the second half, but they never got to do it because Bryce couldn't hold on to the ball. And that's brutal. This easily was Bryce's worst game in terms of ball security. Like, there were some times where, he climbed the pocket still. He was doing those things that has made his game progress in the last 3 weeks. He was moving out the pocket. But it was also a bit of a flashback to last year, unfortunately, that the offensive line, which has been the most lauded part of this team, the most lauded part of this front office thus far, they're rebuilding the reconstruction of this offensive line, just friggin' choked today. Just couldn't get it together. You like Panthers Post? You do not like paying for therapy? Well, for less than $2 American, you can join Panthers Post membership. You can be a Process Blue member, and with that, you get a couple things. Videos ahead of time. So those midweek videos, you get them a whole 24 hours before that. You get exclusive videos. You've already missed out I won about Cam Newton, the conspiracy against the Carolina Panthers. My first mock draft, as you're probably going to learn in this episode, I didn't go defense first. And you're also going to get live chats with yours truly. We're a small but mighty group, just like Bryce Young. There's like 10 of us. It's a tight crew. So we plan accordingly when we have these live chats, and those are our therapy sessions. That's when we talk about how we feel about the team in a good way, bad way. Do we like some new merch? Do we not like the new merch? Let's talk about mocks, all that stuff. So join the community. Less than $2 US a month, $2.99 Canadian. I'm sorry, our dollar sucks for the Canadians who are watching this, but do it. Go on your desktop, not on your phone. For some reason, it's not on the phone. Go on the desktop. Subscribe button, join button, click that, and then you're in. It just reminded me of old school offensive line from last year, and then Bryce looks shell-shocked, like hopefully he comes out of this okay. Dave Canales has confirmed to us that Andy Dalton will not be starting. It will be Bryce Young going into next week, taking on the Cardinals. Maybe, I already know this is going to happen. They're going to put out a stat, the shortest quarterback matchup in NFL history. Bryce Young, Kyler Murray, both sub 6 feet. I think I can already come up with the graphic. They're gonna have them drive like little like clown cars, but the offensive line just choked. Like I'm not blaming it on the Louis V. I know I'm just harping on Louis V. I'm harping on it, but like you go to a boutique shopping experience with your 1,000-yard rusher, totally cool. But it looks like they kind of carried that bougie attitude onto the field. Like they got pushed around. Greg Olsen mentioning how, even when Micah Parsons wasn't rushing, like the line just was not adapting well. Whether it was Bryce or Dave Canales, not scheming up extra blockers, chip blocks, nothing. Like Bryce was getting no time to do anything. And thankfully, somehow, knock on wood, he didn't get hurt in this game because he got mollywopped multiple times in this game. He didn't have a chance. Did not have a chance. Like, didn't have a chance to even climb the pocket if he wanted to. Guys were running in unblocked, just like mashing him in the face. I think the offensive line is going to, that's a wake-up call. Like, this is going to be a test of their leadership, as I've been talking about the first part of this episode. And hopefully they shape up against a Cardinals team that could get got. They could 100% get got. Like, they're in their own heads as well. I didn't really see any updates about Xavier League yet, but he continues his slump from last year, whether he got injured or not. I saw Joe Person put out a tweet that he was favoring his wrist again, the wrist that he talked about, people have known about, that he might need surgery at the end of the year, but it's apparently not bothering him right now. But it clearly, something's happening. He's just, I don't know what's going on with Xavier League yet. I don't know if he needs a benching for a 36-year-old wide receiver, which we kind of have in Adam Thielen. But hey, Jalen Coker, shout out to you. That was great. Like, I don't know how many undrafted free agent wide receivers are making that play and getting this opportunity. Like, Carolina Panthers are one of a few teams, minus the really bad ones that I talked about earlier in the show, that undrafted free agent rookie wide receivers are going to be getting these opportunities. Our defense is a liability, and it is a problem. And maybe they're performing up to their competition. And again, with the cockiness, the lack of humbleness heading into this game, maybe it seeped into the defense as well. But yeah, like Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, someone to set the edge, corner, just anything. And speaking of corner, J.C. Horn talked about that, he would love to travel as a defensive back, as a corner, with the number one wide receiver, because today CeeDee Lamb just did whatever he wanted against whatever corner. They had him on Mike Jackson. They had him on, I think, Xavier Woods. It was just mismatched nightmare. And Greg Olsen shouted him out, like, hey, or not Greg Olsen, it was Jake Delhomme. I was listening to the first quarter on the radio, and Jake Delhomme was saying how, hey, kudos to the Cowboys. They're scheming up their guys open, and they're scheming them against not J.C. Horn. And the fact that J.C. Horn just kind of takes care of his territory, a la Josh Norman, or is it Richard Sherman? I think it's Josh Norman, who didn't really leave his post. Maybe it's time to switch it up a little bit at Joe Evero. I'm not a defensive coordinator. I'm just a guy. But, you kind of want your best guy on their best guy. And next week, they're taking on Marvin Harrison Jr., who is a physical freak. And I feel like you'd want one freak against another freak, and you don't really want this rookie wide receiver stud up against the likes of Mike Jackson, who I think could probably hold his own. But still, you want your odds in your favor. You want J.C. Horn on Harrison Jr., just throwing it out there. But yeah, the defense needs a lot of work. And shout out to Panthers culture. I think he put out an amazing thought, and I 100% agree that they needed a loss like this, an embarrassing one at home, instead of these moral victories where everyone's kind of patting themselves on the back that they played well but despite losing, is that it goes right back down to we are what we are. We're a 3-win team. There's no excuses. This team needs a lot of work. And on defense, still needs a lot of work on offense. They need depth on the offensive line. They need skill position players on the wide receiver. Like, yes, Xavier Leggett is going to get better. I know he is. Jalen Coker is a cute story, 100%. Adam Thielen is not going to be playing forever. David Moore is not going to be here forever. I'm watching this Packers Seahawks game. Like, we don't have guys like anyone on those teams. Like nobody. And there's no one that with that dynamism. Nobody on our team. Romeo Dobbs. Nobody on our team is Romeo Dobbs. Nobody on our team is Jackson Smith and Jigba or DK Metcalf. Just it doesn't exist. It does not exist on our team. The catches and yards after the catch, minus that Jalen Coker one today, is just non-existent. It seems like we just don't have a lot of athletes on the wide receiver side. So they got to figure that out. Obviously, Xavier Leggett getting healthy and getting his mind right will change that situation. But this team has a lot of work to do. Like, yes, it's nice to get excited. It's good to get excited. Like, as Greg Olsen said multiple times, because I think they try to make this somewhat of a game that you're switching the channel. But he's saying, if you're a Panthers fan, yes, you need losses like this because it's a learning experience. Everything that they're experiencing right now, the close losses to the blowout losses to the victories, the 3 that they've had, you're learning something that you're going to take with you into next year. You just got to hope that Dave Canales and company keep these guys' heads in it, keep the culture right, keep pounding, keep working, realize where they are. They're not playoff contenders. They're not wild card contenders. They're a development team, and you got to bring them into next year hungry and thinking that they can keep stacking those. He says there's wins in every play. Just stack those wins in every game. So, like, yeah, today you can say Jalen Coker was a win today. That first drive was nice. My hope is that, hey, since that fumble that ended the game against the Buccaneers, that should have been a win, Chuba Hubbard has not put the ball on the ground. Bryce Young, hopefully he doesn't put the ball on the ground. They work on ball security after that. But yeah, tough game. Super duper tough game. And that's what's going to happen when you're a team that's just not very good, unfortunately. They make stupid mistakes, costly penalties, fumbling the ball, just stuff like that. Brutal. And then in the locker room thinking that you're too good for another team, despite the fact you have only 3 wins. So let me know in the comments below how you feel about the game, how you feel about Bryce, how you feel about the defense, how you feel about Dave Canales, everything. See you guys soon.